Welcome back. We now move on to our next question. From the ANC's Beauty Nomhle Dambuza. It deals with the Each One Settle One campaign. She asked the Minister of Human Settlements in what context the campaign had been launched and how many people had been drawn into it. The response came from the Deputy Minister of Human Settlements, Kota-Fredericks. The Deputy Minister said, despite the advances made since 1994 in providing over 3 million subsidized housing opportunities, the housing backlog could not be eradicated. It currently stood at 2.3 million. The department and the ministry realized they needed the help of South Africans from all walks of life to tackle the housing shortage. The Each One Settle One campaign was then launched.
The response from corporate South Africa and ordinary people has been overwhelming. Besides those who pledge to provide a house for a domestic worker, a building material, skills and land, Anglo-American Platinum Limited pledged to build 20,000 houses for its employees in the Limpopo and Northwest. The first phase of the project was launched in November last year, totaling to 8,000 in Limpopo and 12,000 in Northwest housing units of high quality, primarily for employees of the mining company in the two provinces.
Mrs. Dambuza pointed out that strategic intervention was crucial for the campaign to be successfully expanded, even to rural communities. She said the infrastructure development plan could provide opportunities in this regard.
Does the department has a comprehensive collaborative plan, strategy and programs together with the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform and Enterprises to exploit the opportunity on the government's infrastructure rollout program in ensuring that job creation opportunities as well as PHP promotion as well as the development of vibrant and sustainable housing cooperative movement is developed to advance the developmental agenda?
Yes, we do have a clear program in rolling out this program in the rural areas. We have a rural housing loan fund through which we have a housing voucher where people can build their own material, get material and build their own houses. But at the same time, human settlement is high on the agenda of the PICC, the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Committee, where the issue of housing is at the center of that process. As we speak, we have in KZN a Vulundlela building, PHP building program, where we have 25,000 housing units that are built through PHP process. So we are encouraging ordinary people to be on board to build houses for themselves and will give necessary support to the PHP process.
Stevens Mohalapa of the Democratic Alliance said the cooperation between the housing department and the private sector was encouraging, but funds being forwarded by the private sector must be used for what it was intended for.
Funds are being pledged and or donated by the private sector to this initiative. Hence, it is very important to know that they are well accounted for the continued support of this private sector initiative. The question is, Honorable Deputy Minister, what accountability mechanisms are in place to ensure that all the pledges and donations from the private sector to this campaign is being used to build houses for this specific purpose?
As human settlement, you must understand that you are really anti-corruption. As a result, what we are going to make sure that every cent that gets donated for the building of houses, it's utilized for that purpose. We have systems in place. We make sure that in each province, there are units that are ready to absorb this kind of donation and make sure that people, they see value for money for every donation that we get from ordinary people as well as from the private sector.
Indeed, the cost of providing houses for the poor has so far been phenomenal, though unnecessarily so, and the backlog is huge. Had there been strict monitoring and supervision of the housing projects right from the beginning and all the time, a lot of waste could have been avoided, and government would not be talking of cut-off dates. But the principle of each one, settle one, is a noble one. In fact, it tallies very well with the principle of Ubuntu, both at company and at individual level. However, government should not use this to abdicate its responsibility towards providing houses for the poorest of the poor. What mechanisms is the department putting in place to monitor the success and effectiveness of the project to ensure it makes a difference? And what has been the response so far from the private sector in particular?
We have already said that in terms of the private sector and ordinary people, the response has been overwhelming. But in terms of ensuring that we monitor what is taking place, we have PMU, which is a monitoring unit of the department, and each province does have a monitoring unit to ensure that the development of houses are monitored from the foundation stage. Each stage of the housing gets monitored until at the roof level, so that at the end of the day, even the kind of product that gets produced is quality product, even if those are the houses that are given through donations. But what at the end of the day we need is the quality housing unit. So our monitoring unit is in place, but at the same time we have also NHBRC, which is our quality assurance unit that makes sure that these houses are of good quality.
What I want to find out, how many housing unit has the campaign facilitated since the date of its launch up to date?
I've said that we have a pledge from the platinum, the mining industry. They're pledging 20,000. And out of that, there are many other pledges that have been coming in. So it is coming in drips and drabs, but the response itself is very, very positive. And we actually encouraging also members of parliament to donate houses for other people. You can afford to do that as well.
And that's where we have to leave it. Our time is up. But join us again tomorrow for more views and news from Parliament. And don't miss out on questions to the President. And those questions will be fielded in the National Assembly. Until then, goodbye.